Alright, so welcome back to the channel. Just like with the classic palm, this Tenkai palm is just a few tips and just some mechanics for the Tenkai palm. I won't be presenting any ways to go into a Tenkai palm. That's for later videos, since it's useless to present like methods of going into a palm if you don't know how to palm properly. But yeah, let's get into the Tenkai palm. So the Tenkai palm is created by a Japanese magician named Tenkai Ishida. Aside from that, a lot of magicians nowadays use it, and I believe that it was most likely popularized with Ed Marlo's work on the side steal and whatnot, and then eventually people like Ross Bertram made moves revolving around the Tenkai palm, like the Tebe change, right? Tebe 1, which is the classic Bertram change, right? So you already know. But the main reason I wanted to touch on the Tenkai palm is because I see a lot of it on Instagram, and it doesn't look nice, right? I mean, a lot of people I see just do this, and it's just really disgusting. Like, it's not even a good vanish, because you're just wiping over it, and then suddenly, like, oh, it's gone, but like, you can't see my thumb anymore. It's like, what are you doing? No, stop that, right? So, I'm sorry, I'm just ranting, but yeah, so here is a slight presentation on how to Tenkai palm a card properly. And there are different variations of how to like Tenkai palm, like a deep Tenkai palm and whatnot. What I'm just going to present to you is a standard classic palm, standard Tenkai palm, excuse me, that fits in most situations, especially for mine since I am a close-up magician. So let's just get right into it. So most of you guys will probably recognize the Tenkai palm as the card that is being pinned against the palm of your thumb, the palm of your hand with the thumb. But there's a lot more that goes into it. So a Tenkai palm, traditionally the card is positioned at the line formed by your pinky and ring finger, right? So here it is, about. So you can just close your fingers and you'll see the line. So that's right where the card should be, about. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to reach over with your thumb and you're just gonna lightly just press against it, right? Apply pressure, so then you have this pressure from the palm of the hand to the thumb, right? And it's nothing that like no like hard pressing, so the card shouldn't bend, right? So it's just very light pressure, right, that keeps it in place, right? So then you can move it around. But as you know, you probably notice right now, it doesn't look nice because all my fingers are extended like so. So what you can do is that you can actually lightly curl your fingers, right? You can curl your fingers, so then one, it actually looks better, right? It doesn't look like you're a velociraptor from like Jurassic Park, and it actually covers some angle issues, right? So when most people do the Tenkai palm from this position, you'll notice that only this part is burnable, right? When I tilt more than past this point, you'll notice that it flashes, and that's not ideal. So what you want to do is that when you curl your fingers, it is now covered all the way to about here, right? Right, so I can have my Tenkai palm, right, from the side to the front, and then a bit more, right? So it's a very versatile palm. Most people only know it as like a one side like burnable palm, but if you curl your fingers just lightly, then you'll realize that it doesn't even have that big of an angle issue, right? it's pretty easy to solve it. And the next thing that I want to touch on for the Tenkai palm is that when you actually it's actually good for table work, because if you curl your fingers properly, look at what happens, right? You're just setting it down on the table and there's nothing to be seen, right? But versus like if you do this, that's disgusting. Don't do that. So here I'll just be teaching a couple of variations on well, not a couple, just like one, I guess. just like some variations on the Tenkai palm. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So Dai Vernon actually has his own Tenkai palm, which is interesting. So this is called the rotated Tenkai palm. So it's basically rather than having the card in between of your pinky and your ring finger over here, you're actually just going to place the card higher up until where the fat of your thumb ends, right? And rather than gripping it, rather than gripping it a bit lower than the top left corner, you're actually going to grip it exactly at the top left corner. So it's called the rotated Tenkai palm because the card is actually rotated. As you can see over here, it's actually rotated. So it's actually, the corners are contacting where the fat of the thumb is and your thumb. So unlike the previous one where it was like flush against your thumb, flush against the side of your hand, as such, right? This one is rotated outwards. And the advantage that this actually gives you, let me stand up actually for this. The advantage that this gives you is that Dai Vernon actually used this to pin against himself in order to free his hands, right? So what Dai Vernon was actually doing, as I demonstrated before, is that he was actually pinning this bottom left corner against his body. So I'll just use my left hand as like a demonstration as a replacement for my body. So what he actually did was that he actually pinned this corner against his body, and then he left the corner against his right hand or whichever hand, and he just left it there so that he could freely display this hand as being empty, even though he could just instantly palm the card back, right? So that is the Dai Vernon rotated. So that is the Dai Vernon rotated Tenkai palm. A second variation of the Tenkai palm is by Gene Mays, and if you know who Gene Mays is, then you'll know, his work and what he does, which explains why this variation looks very bizarre. So rather than having, so we're going to have our standard Tenkai palm, the one that I taught at the beginning, but what you're basically going to do is that you're actually just going to take the card and you're just going to kick it until it contacts the pinky finger, right? Over like the third section, like by the side. So this looks extremely similar to a gambler's flat palm, but it is in fact a variation of a Tenkai palm, right? Yeah, so this is the Gene Mays Tenkai palm variation, which is used at the card table, right? Rather than having this, you're gonna have something more akin to a flat palm. Next we next we have a variation by none other than Ed Marlo over here in his side steal pamphlet, which is also in his revolutionary card technique book. So you can go check that out. But he calls this one the Marlo position because Ed Marlo. But it is in fact just a Tenkai palm variation because, Nothing in Magic is original and has been for a while. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but when we were doing the normal Tenkai palm, you were just lightly touching the edge of the card with the edge of the thumb. You didn't have to be like anywhere specific. But for the Marlo position, you actually had to be in the center of the thumb, right? So this line, that's where it traditionally is. So for the Marlo position, the card is going to be here at the center of the thumb, and you're basically going to grip the card around the center, right? And you're going to be left with this position. And Marlo argues that with the normal Tenkai palm, you can't necessarily replace it that easily on the top or the bottom of the deck, even though we know that's not necessarily true. But to each their own. And so that's about it for all the extra handlings for the Tenkai palm. Hope it serves you. Hope it serves you well. Alright, so I know I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but these are just guidelines. So you don't have to copy my exact hand positioning, right? I believe that Tenkai Ishida himself says that these are just guidelines, right? So everybody's hands are different, so therefore you don't need to follow exactly what he's doing, right? So in this same case, you don't have to follow exactly what I do, so feel free to adjust the hand positioning accordingly. I believe that is it for the Tenkai palm. If you want more resources on the Tenkai palm, check out Bertram on Sleight of I believe it's Bertram on Sleight of Hand, right? The book by Ross Bertram. You can also check out some of Ed Marlowe's stuff, so revolutionary card technique. You can also check out Shane Cobalt's Patreon, right? He's a huge fan of Ross Bertram, so he also has videos explaining the Tenkai palm. So that, I believe that is it for this video. Don't hesitate to ask more questions, and so yes, see you guys next time.